The Boston Celtics just robbed the Orlando Magic in the second round of the NBA draft, and Brad Stevens is once again behind the scenes cooking up some great plays and grabbing a big steal here in the draft that's going to fill a necessary need at that center position. We all know you've been asking for the center. Talk about the centers. Well, Brad Stevens went out and got one that I am very, very high on, who I think is going to fit in great into Joe Mazzulla's system. So we're going to dive in and explore what this big man can contribute for the Boston Celtics here, if he can make an impact right away, and what this could maybe mean for the Boston Celtics with doing this selection. We'll be discussing all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and as you guys know, the Boston Celtics are still going on with the second round of the draft, so there might be still some more moves, so laying potential on that of another video coming your way. But at the moment, they had made one selection so far here in day 2, and it's not where we thought they were going to be selecting. We'll get into a little bit why that was the case. But you guys have been showing your love and support. Thank you guys so much. Let me know what you think about the selection the Celtics made here in round 2. And if they make any more selections, what you guys think as well, rating their draft. But without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore the Boston Celtics' first move. Is I think this was an amazing selection for the team, and I think they just hit an absolute home run drafting a guy in Amari Williams coming out of Kentucky. And for you guys that probably don't know, maybe if you're a fan of the stream or, fan of the channel for a long time, I'm a huge Kentucky fan, right? Growing up watching basketball, always watching the Celtics, watching the Phoenix Suns as a kid, and then growing up watching college, Kentucky was a team that I gravitated to because I liked a lot of their star players. And always been following their guys, and they had 2 guys in the draft here. One got selected by Phoenix, Kobe Bryant, and the other got selected by the Suns here, or one got selected by the Suns and Kobe Bryant, and the other, Amari Williams, got selected by the Celtics. And I'm very happy to see that come through into play, and I think this is going to be a very, very key moment for Amari Williams to really step out and showcase to the Celtics what he can really bring for this team. Now, how did the Celtics get Amari Williams? Well, they selected him at pick 46, and you might be asking, well, how the hell did the Celtics get pick 46? They were at pick 32. Well, that's why they robbed the Orlando Magic, because the Boston Celtics here today were analyzing some key pieces, and they wanted a guy in Rasheer Fleming at pick 32. Well, when the Phoenix Suns jumped them and traded for pick 31 from the Timberwolves instead and took him, the Celtics said, we don't need a guy at pick 32. We can trade back and we can get one of the guys that we like at a later pick. And the Celtics did that, trading pick 32 to the Orlando Magic, where they selected wing Noah Penda, someone that a lot of Celtics people also had an eye on, for picks 46, 57, a 2026 second rounder, and a 2027 second rounder, stacking up that ammo once again and getting that war chest ready for any other potential moves down the line here. And Brad Stevens did his specialty of trading back, something that we all saw really coming through. And maybe he felt like a guy like Amari Williams was one of their guys at the center position, right? Guys like Ryan Kalkbrenner and Maxime Reynaud were above there and were still available when the Celtics were going to pick at 32, but they did fall before the Celtics got to pick 46. But sitting at 46, they still got a guy in Williams that they do really, really like here. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Nick NBA. I know you guys all know him. He's been on the channel, and if you follow us, you definitely follow him. He already had a breakdown going over Amari Williams on his channel, so definitely go check that out if you already had watched it. Rewatch it to get a little bit more of a film breakdown on Amari Williams and what he can contribute to this team. But with the Celtics, Amari Williams is going to be an absolute beast. This guy gave him an A+ for the Celtics in drafting him, saying this is why Brad Stevens is the best executive on the planet. Again, the type of guy who is going to be closing out games and could be potentially for the Celtics in playoffs for years down the line. He's a great passer, rebounder, and he's a solid rim protector. And Jared Weiss says that Amari Williams is a really good fit for Boston, considering how well they develop bigs and have a good passing feel. He can push in transition and be good to fill in the open floor as a 7-footer. But what I like about him is his ability to fill into that Luke Cornett role of running delay handoff actions and passing on the short roll. There's a bit of Isaiah Hartenstein to his game if he can become a solid screener. And with Williams turning 24 in January, already being an older prospect, someone at 23 years old of age, there's a chance that he can factor into Boston's center rotation immediately, which I think is something to really, really keep an eye on when you look at the Celtics depth chart. As we go back and look, it is a little bit weak at that center position. We know Tatum's not going to be here. Niang's more of a power forward, but Neemias Queta is still here. Porziņģis is not gone, and they also have Xavier Tillman. But Luke Cornett and Al Horford are still free agents, and with them still, being underneath the second apron, it does give them a little bit more flexibility to bring those guys back. but there's a possibility of losing those guys even if they have the flexibility or money to do so. And even if they got that money, they'd have to move off some more contracts. So there's a little bit of some puzzling moves for the Boston Celtics to really identify that. So filling in a key role, once again, of center in the draft and a player that they think can make a key impact maybe as a backup is very nice. And who knows, if he impresses in Summer League, if he is able to show some flashes, maybe he moves up this depth chart. And that's where it allows the Boston Celtics to feel a little bit more comfortable offloading some of these other centers that they still do have under roster, right? Because if they want to bring an Al Horford back, they want to bring a Luke Kornet back, they may have to move off another $10 million in a Sam Hauser contract, an Anthony Simons contract, or even shedding some smaller money like a guy like Neemias Queta or Xavier Tillman. And to do so, they might have to use some draft capital in doing that. And that's where it gets really interesting with these second-round picks, because Bobby Manning shows us that the Celtics have a lot of assets. They just selected Amari Williams at 46, like I mentioned. We'll see what they do with pick 57. Maybe that's a guy that they target on the two-way deal, because J.D. Davidson obviously got promoted to a regular standard contract. And depending on if he is even coming back or going, obviously that still opens a hole for the Celtics at a two-way spot. But not only that, they got a 2026 first, a 2027 first. They have a 2028 top 45 protected first, one in 2030, 2 in 2031, and 1 in 2032, which gives them multiple assets alongside other future first rounders to use, like I mentioned, dangling around some of these contracts to maybe get off a Xavier Tillman, who unfortunately hasn't really panned out for the Celtics, or maybe having a team really invest in a guy like Neemias Queta as a potential backup big for the Celtics, just to chop at the little ends of the salary, to even give them, $3, $4, $5 million to make it so they can have that flexibility to give Luke Kornet that money to come back, or make it easier for Al Horford to come back as well, so that they can not be as deep into the luxury tax here, and then ultimately still have Amari Williams playing that center role. Like I mentioned, with Amari Williams, he's going to be very, very solid for this Celtics team. I really, really like this pick going into it here. I think the Celtics robbed the Orlando Magic, and they still have another pick up today as well, coming in at 57. Like I mentioned, we'll have to evaluate if they do select at that pick who it's ultimately going to be. But even if they do trade it for some future seconds or something like that, that'll also be something to keep an eye on. But I don't expect Brad Stevens to be done following draft night, because like I mentioned, the Celtics are still in the first apron, but want to shed potentially even some more salary. So what does that say for guys like Anthony Simons, Sam Hauser, and even the guys like I mentioned, like Neemias Queta and Xavier Tillman? Well, we got to stay tuned, and we got to keep up to date. We'll figure out what Brad Stevens has in mind as the Celtics gear up for free agency in just a couple days. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Following the draft, the Celtics are going to be focusing on this new wave. So obviously have some more updates. So if you want to stay up into everything with the team, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on this draft selection like I mentioned, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.